We have an hour together, and I will be looking at how do we serve customers during the pandemic. Wherever we are in the world, we all have very similar issues. And over our time together, we will be talking about what do we do? How do we build? How do we strengthen relationships? How do we keep our customers happy and satisfied? The pandemic is a time for building strong customer relationships, being of service, being helpful, strengthening credibility and trust in us, in our teams, in our organization. Customers are unlikely to be in buying mood. Globally, people have just stopped spending, organizations and individuals. They're just not in the mood for buying unless you have a specific product or service that meets their needs during the pandemic. If you do, then make sure that you're clearly explaining this to them, how you can help them, so that they know how to contact you. Do postpone marketing and PR campaigns. Just stop them, put them on hold until your country comes out of lockdown and life returns to normal. Unless they're specifically designed to help people. Instead, focus your marketing communications on how you're continuing to support customers and clients during this time. They are much more likely to respond to offers of support for the challenges and issues that they are facing. And that's really what they want. And it's also what you want from your suppliers. This is me. I'm going to start by introducing myself. I'm Joanne Sweeney. I am a marketing and a PR communications consultant, mentor, and trainer. I work around the world. I work in the Middle East, in China, in Asia Pacific, in Europe, in the UK, and I live in London. I work with multinationals, predominantly in the IT, technology, and telecom sectors, but I've also worked in oil and gas, in financials and pharmaceuticals. You can see I've got qualifications, so I've got academic qualification and professional qualifications. I'm a member of 3 different professional organizations. I'm also a trustee for a Nigerian charity that's headquartered in Jos. It's an HIV and AIDS charity. I've got 3 adult children. 2 of them live in New Zealand, which is where I come from, and the other one lives in London. And I have lots of interests, so I have a life outside work, and I make sure that I have lots of time for my friends, for my family, and for the things that I enjoy doing. So I'm going to go back 2 slides. I know I didn't, sorry, I thought I missed an agenda. I didn't. So the starting point with any marketing that we do is what is most important to the leaders of your organization, because whatever is most important is what we need to deliver, and we need to know that. So these are the sort of things that are typically important to leaders globally. It doesn't matter where they are in the world. 1 to 3 of these things will be what's most important to them. And because it's most important, it's what they expect us as marketers to deliver. So revenues, that is either stable revenues or growing revenues. Profits are, again, stable profits or growing profits. Or costs, so reducing or stable costs. Organizations can't deliver those 3 financial targets, three financial purposes. It's just too much to do all 3. So one of them will be important to your leaders, and it's which one. And then it's sales volumes, so stable or increasing sales volumes. Stable market share, it'll be unusual for an organization to be trying to grow its market share during the pandemic, but your organization, that might be an aim. Share price, so again, it's stable share price. Assets, That's about getting the best, making the most effective use of your company's assets. People, it's about making the most effective use, getting the best from your people, and then strong or growing brand and reputation. 1 to 3 of these will be what's most important to your leaders. And hopefully, as I've talked through them, you're really clear about which 1 to 3 are important. So I'm going to ask you now to share with us which 1 to 3 are most important. So you'll see here a poll has come up. Please choose the 1 to 3 that matter to you most. So I'll give you a couple of minutes, and hopefully from your system you are able to choose. Wonderful. It's wonderful to see your results coming in. So you don't have to choose 3. Choosing 1 is fine. It's interesting to see the numbers changing as you all vote. Okay. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to vote now. So I'll give it, there are still a few people who haven't had a chance to vote. So I'll just give you another minute. Please do choose. And if you're not sure, have a guess. There are no right and wrong answers to this, and hopefully what we'll see is, when everyone's had a chance to vote, is that our organizations are all different, and what matters to one is different to another. Okay, just a couple more people who haven't had a chance to vote. I'm going to end the voting now and share the results so we can all see. So hopefully you can all see, and what you'll see is that there's such variety. So different things matter in different companies. And of course, what you've shown is what matters in your company. And with your clients, maybe things are different. So maybe their leaders want different things from them. Let's return to the presentation and move on. Were you surprised by how much variety there was? And of course, we've just looked at what matters to our leaders, but we also need to look at what matters to our customers, because in marketing, we have to satisfy both the leaders of our business and our customers to be successful. So these are the things that typically matter to our customers. This is during the pandemic, not normal life, so that we, the people serving them, know, understand, and empathize with the issues that they have. That we are going to support them as they serve their customers and their clients. That we're going to offer them the continuing high levels of service that we offered before lockdown, before pandemic. That we're going to help them with finance, and that probably means payment terms. We're going to continue to be reliable and professional. So we're going to behave in the same way that we behaved before lockdown. We're going to be honest, transparent, open in the way we relate to them, in the way we speak with them. We're going to keep them updated, and we're not going to try and sell unless we have something that directly helps them now. So we're going to go through each of these in detail for the rest of the webinar, talking about, well, how do we do this in practice so it works? Before we do that, I have another poll for you. Oops, sorry. Let me go back. Sorry, I can't seem to get out of. I'll go back to the presentation. Sorry, I couldn't get out of the previous one. Hopefully I can do it now. Yes. Sorry about that. So here is the second poll. And again, please choose the 1 to 3 things that your customers believe that you should be providing during the pandemic. And it might be that you're providing for you as an individual, for you, your team, for you, your organization. And again, it doesn't have to be 3, it could just be 1. I'll give you a few more minutes. Hopefully everybody is able to access the poll and to share what their customers want. Okay, I'm going to stop the poll now and share the results so that you can see. And again, what we see is that there's huge variety in what our customers want. And quite likely that there's huge variety for you from one customer to another. And if you've got customers with different wants, you know, how are you going to meet them now? Is it possible to tailor what you offer to all your customers? And if it's not, how are you going to decide what offer, what level of service your customers get? So are you going to base it on their spend? So, you know, the most important customers, your top customers, get a higher level service. Or are you going to base it on the type of customers they are? So, for instance, in the UK, small businesses are getting a different level of service because they're less able to cope during the lockdown, during the pandemic. Is that true in your country? So we're no longer giving special treatment and bespoke treatment based on revenues and profits. We're doing it based on the type of customer they are, or even the country that they're in. So it might be that some regions, your clients are struggling more than in others. Let's go back to the presentation now. And for the rest of this presentation, we're going to go through the things that customers want and talk about how do we support them and meet their needs. But before I do that, you know, I asked you to answer these 2 poll questions. And as you were doing it, you might be thinking, well, I just don't know. How can I answer that question? I don't know. And of course, the issue is if you can't answer, if you don't know, then you can't tailor your marketing and your PR to serve your customers during the pandemic. So of course, if you don't know, then go and ask. Go and do a survey, asking them just a few questions, no more than 5 questions, no more than 15 minutes. Best to do it face to face. So at the moment we're in lockdown here, and I am doing a research survey for one of my clients, and I'm doing it all by phone. So these people are around the world and they're happy to talk by phone, but I wouldn't do it by email or online because it's too impersonal. But of course, I've only got 100 people to speak with. If you've got thousands, then phone is going to be much more tricky, and it's just going to take too long. So the things to ask, what are the challenges and issues that they are facing? Because we're interested in serving them. And if we're going to serve them and we want them to believe that we're doing a good job of serving them, then of course it's going to be on their terms, their definition of good service, not our own. What are their expectations of us? How would they like us to support them? And how do they want us to stay in contact with them? And that is what channels, email, phone, text, video, whatever, and the frequency, once a day, once a week, once a month. We need to ask. And of course, when we ask, we then need to do what they say. Yeah. When we're doing these interviews, one of the secrets is to let them do most of the talking, because then we can show empathy. Then we can show that we're interested in them and we care about them. If we do all the talking ourselves, or most of it, their perception is that we're only interested in ourselves, not in them. And then of course, listen, emphasize, record if you want to be able to go back and listen again. And you can see my last point is, who calls, and it should be people who have got good people skills by phone, by video, etc. And that will probably be your marketing teams, your sales teams, and any customer service practitioners, advisors. So I'm doing all the talking now, which is the opposite of what I'm just telling you. If you've got any questions, do put them in the chat and I will stop and answer them. If I don't stop and answer them, we'll have a time at the end where you can ask questions. Just remind me then, and I will answer your questions. So here, the first point is, if we're going to show understanding, empathy, care, how do we do it? And the way we do it is through our voice, our face, our body language. And one of the issues with that is we can't fake it. If we don't feel empathy, then we will show them that in everything about ourselves. And of course, the words we say are a tiny part of how we communicate. So empathy, understanding, it starts in our mind. So it's our mind, we say, I care about this customer. I want to serve them. I want to hear. I want to listen. I want to do my best for them. And then that will come through in everything. So hopefully you can see I'm using my hands, I'm using my face, I'm using my voice and my eyes to communicate with you. And see, my eyebrows just went up. So you will be doing the same when you're communicating with your customers, when you're talking with them. And you don't have to have video on to communicate with your body. When you talk on the phone, then you will be communicating with your body language as well. So you can see from the bullets, there are lots and lots of ways that we use our voice. We also use pause, silence, hesitations, ums and ahs, gasps and takes of breath, breathing out, words and language, but also body language and posture, and the balance between us speaking and them speaking. So I'm just stopping to read a question. So can you save your question for the end in the last 15 minutes when we have the question and answer session? And if I don't answer it, because I might struggle to find it in the chat list, then ask me again. But it's a great question. Thank you. So how do they want us to support them as they serve their questions? And of course, so their customers, we're not going to know without asking them. these are the things that we can expect them to say. So it might be, how do I place an order with you? Maybe things have changed in your organization and they're not sure. Or maybe you've introduced a new way of easy ordering. So let me give you an example. The company that I buy my groceries from online in London delivers to me. I've been a customer forever, since the very beginning. And I placed an order just before we went into lockdown in the UK. And I got my order, but it took a week to come instead of a day. But they let me know. So they said, we're just overworked, we can't do it, but please accept a week. And I said, fine. Soon after I placed my order, they shut down online ordering for 3 weeks, and they are only take online orders because they were so overwhelmed. But they put lots of information out explaining to their customers, but also in the media to the general public, why they were having problems. And then once they started taking orders again, they let everybody know. And I ordered, when did I order? I think I ordered on Friday and my order came Saturday. I was thinking, yes, I was expecting to have a long wait. But then again, has quality changed? It might be that you just can't get the raw materials that you used to be able to get. And so the quality of what you're offering is changing. And so you let them know when they place the order so they can say yes or no. And they're probably going to say yes because, no one else is offering it. What can you actually deliver? What can you actually get to them? What quantities can they order? I don't know if you saw in the UK, our government ordered some PPE equipment from, I think, China, and they were expecting 400,000 sets to come, and 40,000 arrived. And they didn't know the 40,000 was going to be only a tenth of their order until it came. Whereas if they'd known in advance, they could have gone somewhere else. And of course, now they're not buying from that supplier again because it's undependable. Tracking. So will customers be able to track their orders in the same way as before? Quite likely they won't, but you need to let them know. Substitutions, if you can't provide them with what they ordered, what are the alternatives? Managing issues, if they've got issues with their orders, how do they get in contact with you? And improved payment terms, which again we're going to talk about. But you can see lots and lots of ways and really things that customers and clients are really concerned about at the moment, and they want to know the answers. Help with finances. Here are probably the most obvious, the easiest way to help your clients, your customers, with paying for your goods so they still buy from you. And I suppose you look at this list and think, oh no, we can't do that. It will impact us financially. And yes, it will. But if you don't offer help with finances and they need them, they will go to one of your competitors who does help. So it's a big issue, yes. But if you don't do it now, you take a short-term financial hit now, you could take a long-term financial hit in the future. So discounts, are you going to give them price discounts? So you're going to offer the goods for less, or you might reduce the interest on any financing you offer. So you might give them an interest-free period, or you might reduce the interest significantly. You might improve your payment terms. So you might have 30-day payment terms and you say, well, we're going to give you 60 days. You might actually reduce your actual prices, or you might give them a payment holiday. You might say, you don't have to pay until we come out of lockdown. And again, you might have to do different things for different companies, different clients. And if you do, can your financial systems cope? So, because of course, we are limited by our financial systems to what we can offer. Reliability and professionalism. So here the question is, what is your organization known for among its clients, its customers, government, the general public, opinion formers and influencers, the media, and all the other stakeholders who shape your brand and reputation? So these are the 6 types, general types of marketing orientation, which you may or may not have heard of. And generally, organizations choose one of them. And so during this COVID period, we need to know what is our organization's marketing orientation, and how does our behavior during this period, in the time we relate to customers and suppliers, how will that really reinforce our reliability and professionalism? So first, companies are known for the high quality of their products and services. So if that's you need to ensure that quality stays up there. It might be that you're known for wide availability. So your products and services are available to everybody in your market who wants to buy from you. If that's the case, how are you going to make that happen now? And if it is the case, that needs to be your focus. It might be that your products and services are known for their features and their performance. So you have exceptional features and performance in comparison to your competitors. So again, if that's the case, you need to make sure that you maintain that. It may be that you're known for aggressive selling and promotion. So your focus in your organization is selling, selling, selling. And if that is the case, then you really need to spend time saying, that's what we're known for. Can we do it now? So can we continue? Will our customers accept aggressive selling and promotion now? Or do we need to just take it down a few notches? And if so, how far can we take it down before we stop being true to our brand? Your organization may be known for meeting and satisfying customer needs. And again, if that's the case, it's a real challenge during COVID because their needs have changed, their needs are so varied, and they've got so many needs now. But if it is the case, how are you going to continue to meet them? And lastly, you may be one of the tiny number of companies globally whose focus is a positive impact on wider society. So the two examples that are really, really well known are Tom's Shoes, who give away a pair of shoes to a disadvantaged child for every pair they sell, and Gandhi's shoes, who support hospitals or schools in, I think it's in the areas that were affected by the tsunami in 2005. So if that's your organization, how do you ensure that you're continuing to have a positive impact on society? So I can't give you answers to these questions because your organizations are all different. But what I am hopefully getting you to think through and think, well, what does this mean for us? How are we going to continue to support and to underpin what we stand for in our communities and our societies? Honesty, transparency, openness. So what we're seeing is, and it's not just in the West, not just in the UK, not just in Europe, that honesty, transparency, and openness is absolutely key. Clients and customers expect us to be truthful now. And it's really on two factors. So how is our organization impacted by COVID? What's happening? So, have we got staff that are deceased? Have we got staff who are ill? Have we got staff who are self-isolating, staff who are working from home? If we've got warehouses and shops and construction sites, are we enabling people to work the distance that they need to work? So in the UK, it is 2 meters, 6 feet. In other countries, it might be 1 meter, 3 feet. But whatever it is, have we set ourselves up to do that so that our staff are safe? And the reason it matters is that our customers need to know that we care about our staff, because if we care about our staff will serve customers well. And customers don't want to be served by unhappy, fearful staff. But also it might be that there are problems, our staff are working from home. They might not have high-speed internet at home. It might be slow. They might not have access. So the VPN is the virtual private network. It's the intranet for our company. They might not have good access to it. So they might not be able to use the systems that they're used to using to contact customers. They might have to move on to something else. It might take much longer to respond to customers. And it might be that, when they're on calls with customers on video, their cat suddenly leaps onto the keyboard, or there's a baby crying in the background, or a child comes in and starts crawling along the floor. Life is different, and we need to let customers know that that's going to happen when they're on calls with their customers, because our staff are human beings and they're working from home, and that it's okay. And we need to let staff know it's okay as well. We might be facing real issues, for instance, getting raw materials. So raw materials are much more difficult to source now because of the lockdown in China and the lockdown in India, and other parts of the world. It might be that, our manufacturing, because of social distancing, we can't manufacture the same volumes that we were manufacturing in the past. So they need to understand that. We might have real problems distributing because a lot of our drivers are off ill, or they're having to take measures that means it takes them longer to deliver. And we need to be honest about these things. And of course, when we are, people will understand because they're facing the same issues. Keeping them updated. Customers want to know what's going on. They want us to stay in contact. So it's one of the things we can do when we can't serve them in the ways we used to serve them. We don't need to spend our time doing admin and sorting out issues for them as much as we used to. So we've got time to build relationships, time to connect, time to talk with them. So I have a program of calling my clients and my ex-clients, and I'm not trying to sell. I'm just having a chat. How are you? How are your children? What's going on in business? What are the big issues that you're facing at the moment? And it's just a case of connecting and of showing that I'm interested in them as people, not just as customers who are going to give me money. But also, it might be that you are going to call, you're going to keep them updated with the progress of their orders, with any issues that they should know about. Double checking that the ways you contact them work, that they are getting your emails, they can get into your website, they can get into an extranet if you share it with them. So an extranet, if you're not familiar with them, is a closed user group that people have to get into with a password, and once they're inside it, they can have private conversations. So you might have an extranet for clients from a particular industry or people from a particular company, and they can have private conversations with you that no one else sees. But really think about, and again, I'm stimulating your thoughts to think about, how do we stay in contact with our customers that is meaningful for them and that shows we care about them and that we're interested in them and we're here for them. Because of course, once you do that, you're going to be there for them once you've come out of lockdown, and they're going to be there for you. Selling. So that was what to do with customers when you haven't got anything to sell. But what if you have got something to sell? So, and something that really helps them now during COVID. If you have, you need to tell them, because otherwise they might not know. And then they might say to you afterwards, well, why didn't you tell us? We really needed that. It would have made a huge difference. And you didn't tell us, you couldn't help us. We don't want to know about you anymore. We actually went to someone else who could help us, and we're sticking with them. And you just don't want that. This is the sales model. I hope you can see the words in each of the boxes. It's a model that I use all the time, not just for selling, but I use it in presentations as well, because it's just so powerful. So the first thing that we want to do is say, why should they pay attention to us? And the why should they pay attention is not about us and what we're offering. It's about the issue that they're facing. And it's about demonstrating that we understand where they are and that we have empathy. So what we're saying is, just we know you've got this big issue. We really understand. This is what we think's going on. Tell us a bit more. Something, around those lines. And of course, it's going to be different for each conversation. then we're going to say, these are the benefits of working with us. And the benefits are effectively how we can help them, support them, assist them as they resolve the issue. So we shouldn't be doing it for them, because that's not really what people want. What people want is to be empowered to do things to themselves. And then thirdly, now we tell them what we're offering. So now we say, we've got X, Y, Z, and it can do A, B, C, and it will support, resolve your issue, help you resolve your issue. And then we talk about who we are. So, and who we are is not necessarily we're the biggest and the best, because clients don't care. They don't buy from people who are biggest and best. They buy from people who can solve their need. So the who we are is what is our expertise, our experience, our knowledge, and our skills that enable us to understand and help them resolve their needs. And then we recap, remind them about everything we said in nice little bullet points, just to help them put it all together, because we've probably had lots for them to think about. And lastly, we have a call to action, and the call to action tells them specifically what to do next. So it might be, tell me what you want to buy. It might be, how much do you want? When do you want it delivered? How do you want it delivered? Where do you want it delivered to? It might be, who else do we need to speak to? Let's book a call to talk to those people. It might be, let's book a call for lots more detail, just so we can talk in more detail. It might be, what are the barriers that are preventing you placing this order? Let's talk about them in more detail. So something specific that walks them on the path that they will take, the journey, the selling journey, to the point where they're going to give you an order. So before I take questions and answers, let me just tell you about 2 courses, online virtual courses, that we have in the next couple of months that are going to look at this topic in more detail. So at the beginning of June, we're going to have a 2-day online training looking at how do we communicate with our stakeholders during the COVID pandemic. So it will be the full range of stakeholders. So it will be customers and the media, government, opinion formers and influencers, employees, the full gamut. Please do join us. We'll be doing the training 2 days, 4 hours per day. So it won't take over your whole day. It won't feel too much. It will be very interactive, and we'll be learning from each other. To book your place, click the link, and we'll also send this to you separately. In July, we'll be looking at how to plan for marketing activities for when the pandemic's over. So the first one is, what are we doing now during the pandemic? The second one is, we're planning to take our company to get our marketing kick-started as we come out of lockdown. And of course, we need to plan this during lockdown, during the pandemic, so that we can kick-start it immediately lockdown lifts. So thank you for listening to me. Thank you for all staying and listening to me throughout the time I've been talking. So I'm now going to so I see that you will get, so Samuel, you asked about certificates. There will be certificates for everybody, and Aztec will send them to you. If you don't get one within a week, please contact Aztec. So I'm now going to go back and look for questions. If you have any questions, please write them in the chat and we will get to them. So I know I've got a few. Let me go back and just find them. Marianne, I think you were the first person. Okay, actually it was Samuel. So Samuel, you talked about responses to requests for quotes. Hopefully what I shared about the issues with technology will give you an idea. So it really depends which country you're talking to, but if you're talking about the UK, Italy, Spain, France, probably America, the pandemic, the COVID has had huge impact. Huge numbers of people ill, lots of people dying, lots of people self-isolating as well because they've got various health issues. So anybody with a health issue has been told to stay inside. And and they, again, they may have technology, so they may just not be getting your emails. So it would be good. I would suggest that you follow up actual people rather than a generic inbox, just to find out what's going on. If you really want to get a quote from a particular organization, follow them up, have conversations, just find out what their issues are, but also, when they believe they might be able to support you. So, for instance, I'm in a conversation to come and deliver some consultancy in the Middle East from July. And at the moment, my concern is, if I arrive in the Middle East, will I have to be on quarantine for 2 weeks? I know when I come back to the UK, I'll be in a 2-week quarantine, but that's fine. I can manage that here. But that's going to be, I don't know how I'm going to manage it in Dubai at the moment, because of course I'm going to be there and not meet with my customers. So here we go. Here's Marianne's question. So Marianne says it's sometimes difficult dealing with clients in this, and when you actually ask them to observe protocols, then they just ignore you. So I would say, Marianne, don't ask them, tell them. Sort of, you have to enforce it. I think what you're talking about is a global issue. People, if they don't want to do something, then they won't do it. And lots of people can't see the point. They think it's not going to affect them. And of course, once it does, they're devastated. But until that happens, they think it's a problem for someone else. So if you want people to social distance, you have to make it happen. There are lots of ways of doing it, and you can probably find lots of advice online. So one thing you can do is mark lines. So if in your country, then the government instruction is 2 meters or 1 meter, then put lines on the floor 1 meter or 2 meter apart. If you have seating, then put crosses across this, tape across the seats so people can't sit in them. Maybe you need to have plastic shields for your staff so that they're not going to get anybody spitting on them. Even if no one spits on them, it still gives them confidence that they're safe, and so they're willing. Staff will be more willing to come in and serve customers as well, and more willing to be in offices if they believe they're going to be safe. And things like the markings on the floors and the chairs that people can't sit on and the desks that people can't use, you should be doing that for your staff as well as for your customers. If you don't keep your staff safe and they get sick, you won't have anybody to serve customers. So let me see. I'm just going to scroll down the chat now and see. So I'm just reading what you've written. Okay. So I think, Toku, I think this is your question. You asked for a little perspective on work-life balance with working from home and observing the safe regulations in your house. So we talk about, so I'm a New Zealander, and New Zealand has done amazingly, and they talk about bubbles, and I love that because it's an image. You can imagine a bubble, you can imagine it as a 3-dimensional safe, and everything inside is safe. So think about your home as a bubble, and how do you keep everybody in your home inside your bubble, and you don't let anything from outside get into the bubble. So I love that, and that's what we practice here in our home. And bit more than that. So I exercise every day at 4 o'clock. I stop work and I do half an hour of Pilates, and I do it to give my day some structure, but also so that I get some exercise. So definitely we need physical exercise for our mental well-being. I start work at 8. I have a coffee break for about 15 minutes at 10. I have a lunch break from 12 to 2. I have a coffee break in the afternoon, and then I exercise. It gives me structure to my day. It really helps me prioritize my work so that I know, I've got to get something done by 10 so that I can have my break. And I don't work after 4 o'clock. So I do a 7-hour day. I don't work after 4 o'clock. And so I've got time to recover. And what is marvelous, so I'm an opera buff, and I'm watching new opera from the New York Metropolitan Opera Company. It's streamed every night. Oh, I watched Pavarotti the other night. Oh, fabulous. But there's lots of stuff like that going on. In the UK, the National Theatre streams plays, some amazing plays. So look around the world for the things that you're interested in that maybe you've never got to do. I've never been to New York to see live opera, but now I can watch it on my computer. Find stuff that you love doing and do it. So I'm going to look some more. So I'm sure. Okay. So Dr. Temi, you asked, as a supplier, what should be the priority of my research, market or customer? I'd say both. It really depends on who you're supplying and what you're supplying, and whether what you can supply. So who are you supplying? What are you supplying? When can you supply? Where can you supply? And then once you know what you can do, you need to know what customers want. So it's having conversations around what they want. Yeah. So hopefully it's very difficult to answer your question specifically because I don't have any specifics. But what you need to know really is, what do customers want from me? So let me keep on scrolling down. So I think I've answered all your questions. So I went outside yesterday for a walk in a park near us, and there was pollen growing everywhere, and I got some pollen in my eye, so it's a little bit itchy. Do you have any other questions? Okay. So I've just got a question that's from Sani saying, what advice do you have for service providers that do not care about their customers? So Sani, I hope you're not talking about your own company and that you're talking about it from a customer perspective. So I would say if you absolutely need things during COVID pandemic to serve your customers and your current providers are not providing that, then you need to look elsewhere. Don't wait around for them. Don't wait around for them to tell you that they can't help you, because they may not want to do that. In some cultures, it is rude to say we can't help you. So they will say, yes, they can help you, and then not help. And if that is happening, then you're going to be letting your customers down. So figure out what you need to help your customers and then find someone to help you. So I have a question from Daisy. I can't answer that question, Daisy, but hopefully Aztec will be able to answer it, and an answer will come up. Do you have anybody? How do I manage cash flow? So for me personally, I am a consultant. So I'm speaking now for myself, not for Aztec. I'm a consultant who works with Aztec. And so for me, one of my customers is now paying me on 60-day terms, not 2 weeks. So instead of getting paid in 2 weeks, I'm getting paid in 2 months. And so what I've had to do is go and negotiate with my suppliers and say, I can pay you part, but I can't pay you everything I owe you on the date that's due. And some have been, I've got one amazing supplier who said, don't worry, you don't have to pay us anything. And I have to say, I was going to cancel my service with them because I really didn't think I could afford it. And I was going to go with someone else. And because they've said to me, don't worry, you don't have to pay for 3 months, I can't cancel now, can I? I have to stay with them. And even though they are actually expensive, and I chose them because they're the best, I'm going to have to stick with them. I now feel obliged to stick with them going into the future. when I can pay them, because they've given me this amazing service. And I've also got other people who are being really quite difficult, and I don't feel as loyal to them. Yeah. So yeah, Sunny, I see a second question from you, that companies are enjoying monopoly. So that one I struggle to respond to, because partly because of my own culture in the UK, anybody who gives poor service because they're a monopoly very quickly stops being a monopoly. Someone comes in who's niche and undercuts them. So you don't have to be a big company to give really good service. And pretty much everywhere in the world, there will be a market leader who has the most market share and is the biggest, but there'll be lots of small companies who give very, very niche services to a segment of the market, and they are doing well now because they can adjust, and they're flexible, and they can really meet people's needs. Whereas if you're a big company, it's near impossible to flex to meet the needs of individual customers, especially if they're not your most important. Have you got any? I'm hoping the questions are appearing in order. So that looks like all the questions. Has anybody got any other questions before we end? Or maybe I ask another question. Is there anything that works in your country that you have found works either for you as a customer or you as a company serving customers that I haven't covered? Okay, I've got one question coming in. So, and hopefully you've seen from Aztec that the recording will be available, and that it will be uploaded on the website, and that when you receive your certificates, you'll also get a copy of the slides. So Eric, I didn't go into details about logistics because that's a topic on its own. I mean, distribution and logistics is a vast topic with huge numbers of options. My guess is that Aztec will be doing a webinar on logistics, and they'll also be doing online training on logistics. Yeah, that's great. So we've got Gulbahor saying that he's got a 40% discount for the hotel he's staying in. Yeah, that is a really good example. So thank you very much for your time. It's been great sharing with you. Do continue to share with us, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the two virtual training courses that we're running in June and July. Goodbye. Thank you for the messages you're sending now. It was delightful spending time with you. I will stay here and watch them coming up.